So I'll make the choice of four-digit blocks. So I'm grouping 2 letters at a time, or E as 05 is left by itself. And then let's get into the mechanics of how the encryption works. We're going to choose the encryption works based on exponentiation, where the plain text is our base and our encryption key is going to be the exponent, and then we reduce everything by our modulus. So rules to consider when choosing a modulus is that you need a modulus that is going to be larger than your largest potential block of text. So in this case, I need it to be bigger than, if it's blocks of 4, then I need it to be bigger than 2,727. So the modulus is constructed from primes P and Q. So we choose P and Q so that their product will be larger than our maximum character block. So this is where you make your choice. This is we'll be using Maple to implement this, and the Maple commands we're defining using the colon, the equal sign, and then the command is next prime, which gives the prime that is greater than 50 the next one. So this makes the definition of our choice of P. Which, if you plug in, you will see. Then, likewise, we want a choice of Q. Which Maple will provide for you. Then we want to define N to be the product of P and Q. Which will be your output if you were to execute all along the way. And then we need phi, which is where the number theory comes in. Which gives the number of numbers less than n. So it's phi of n if you were able to be operating on n. It's dependent on n. It's the number of numbers less than n that are relatively prime to n, which happens to be p minus 1 times q minus 1. Then we're going to on the same line, I'm showing you the outputs, but you can put this all on one line. Then we're going to want our encryption exponent, which does not need to be a prime, but there's no harm in choosing that to be a prime. And then the part that you would not want to do by hand is find your decryption key, which of course is supposed to be a security element of RSA, because you choose P and Q such that N cannot be factored by a computer, at least our contemporary computers, and so no one can solve your code. But since we already know the factors of n, we can, or because we've chosen numbers small enough that our computer can solve it, you can just type into Maple to define your decryption key exponent. You're going to just execute 1 divided by E mod phi. that. So this gives you the multiplicative inverse of E mod phi, and which means that if you were to multiply E and D together, you would get multiplicative identity 1 mod phi, which is so if you multiply these numbers together and keep subtracting 5,200, you would eventually get down to 1. That would be one of your results if you were to stop there. Alright, so this is all the background. Now for the implementation, we'll take our plain text blocks, 16, 18. We're going to exponentiate to the E mod n. So our modulus is n. We're going to exponentiate our next plain text block. Basically, we're going to do each of them. Execute that, and this gives us our ciphertext, which as long as you're the only one who knows it, you're free to publish this in public or send it across the internet. And no one should be able to figure out what your original message said. Or more likely, you would give out your encryption exponent, and then people would send messages to you using your encryption exponent, for instance, their credit card numbers, and then they could just send this out in a public place like the internet, and no one would be able to figure it out except you, because you are the only one who knows your decryption exponent, D. So this should be safe. And now that you have this message, then you can decrypt it using your decryption keys. So we'll take the ciphertext, exponentiate to the D power mod n again. Hit enter, and you will be pleased to see the following output. Which is our original input. So we get our plain text back, and then it's just a matter of reversing the substitution to find the original message, the word prime,